Literacy. Some interesting things about literacy that I've learned when we come out with these computers. Muscle memory. I have terrible trouble still with spelling. Lots of kids do. Computers help kids spell, and it's nothing to do with spell checkers. It's to do with muscle memory. They begin to remember what the words feel like and where they are on the keyboard. And they begin to spell better. Not with the spell checker, but with muscle memory. Why is this important? It's important for spelling. But what it actually does, I put that quote up there because I found this in an educational document about literacy and IT. And kids say it helps them think better. Because if their memory is not overloaded with trying to remember how to spell a word, because their muscles are sorting that out, then the quality of their writing improves. They become better writers. Now that doesn't mean that we get rid of handwriting. Like I said before, this is a tool that supplements everything else. Handwriting is important because as we are now, they're going to use handwriting in an exam. That may change. In Denmark, they use laptops and they use the internet actually in exams. We may be moving towards that, so we've got to keep that in mind as well. But they will still write using a pen, but they'll be using IT in a different way when appropriate. If you look on the VLE for English, there are signposts where kids can go to find information. Teachers can cherry pick educational resources to put them on the VLE to guide kids, to help them know, depending on where they're at that point. That idea of differentiation, to give kids their individual learning needs. There's a blog. Kids are starting to read books and join the online blog in our school. They can review a book, they can be told about a book. So we've got these discussion groups about books. Still reading. This one here. Kids hate making mistakes. They'll do a piece of writing, and if they've got to cross a word out, you will not believe how frustrated they get with messing up their page. The undo button is just brilliant. Undo my mistake. Now, that doesn't mean we don't learn by our mistakes, and that's important. We have to, as educators, have to factor that in. But a kid has the freedom to undo their mistakes, and if you can undo a mistake, you're more willing to take a risk, which is what education is about. I can take a risk because I can undo the damage. This is a poem. This isn't a poem written by somebody else. This is a published poet. This is written by a poet in our school, a Year 7 poet. And they wrote their poem, connected it with some images. Essentially, they produced a great piece of English, but enjoyed doing it and putting a little movie together. Creative, it's motivational, but more importantly, it's absolutely brilliant. I only saw this the other day, and I think it's great. I'm not going to play all of it, but it's a great, great poem. There are two pictures on the board. One of them is by a world famous artist. One of them is by an artist in Year 7. One of them makes millions of pounds, one of them hopefully will make millions of pounds. Can you tell which one it is? I know which one I think is the better one. The project was, they study an artist, study the work, study the style, and recreate it using their mini-books. The one on the left is the world famous artist. The one on the right is a Year 7 pupil. Just going back to Sticks, this is the whole group's little dances. They created these dances and emailed them to their friends and got them to dance and so forth. And there's their little dances, and I'm not going to play all of them, but you can see how it goes if you like. I spent a lot of my time in the library. And I was in the library the other day, and it wasn't 7x1, it was another group where they were using the computers in the library and the other mini books that we book out. And it was a maths lesson. And I suddenly realised what I could put on this slide, because I was struggling at this point. Normally, lessons are about the teacher standing up at the front, 30 people facing them, the teacher delivering some information, and 30 people trying to get on with it. This teacher, who is here today, is the head of maths, Mr. Preston. This teacher was in the library. Kids come in, they access the VLE, they were doing maths, and then they started straight away because there was a clear starting point, so they could get into it very easily, so straight away they were in. The teacher then could go around and offer individual support. And then when you looked at the VLE page, all they needed to do was point them back to the skills building exercises. This lesson was fantastic. He had a start, then he had to go back to practice your skills, then to look at a video, and then to do some exercise. But also, it opened up the world to the fact that maths was everywhere. So this idea of kids seeing maths, they were doing Rangoli patterns, I apologise if I got that wrong. They were looking at patterns that people use. And they've got these videos of people drawing patterns on walls and on floors. And they were trying to identify the maths in them. Brilliant. We're creating enquirers. This is cutting edge technology. We like to call these post-it notes. These are possibly the most important educational tool you get. And the reason I put this photo on there, you'll notice on the left-hand side, these sort of yellow and green, we've got the word bad, we've got a cross. On the other side, we've got 2 ticks. In this piece of work, the kids had to find some information on the internet using their netbooks, write it down, say where it came from, pass it to somebody else, who then had to go and check it, find it somewhere else. If they couldn't find it, they put a cross next to it or called it bad information. That's really important. It's a really important learning experience. And that's what I'm talking about, like sorting out the internet. Go back to numeracy. The maths departments probably are pushing ahead now, this school, with this idea of the netbooks. They've worked really hard, and they've applied for, got a grant of money, £5,000, and they're investing that money in training themselves. That money is being invested in the teachers being trained to deliver lessons that will be supported by the netbooks. Somebody coming in Friday to show us how to use Google Earth to measure distances and all sorts of things, shape the size of buildings using Google Earth. So a lot of money being invested there. Their virtual learning environment, their VLE, is now full of individual lessons from individual teachers that are matching their student needs. World Maths Day was unbelievable. They were logging on, competing with people all around the world, doing maths. Motivation in these kids they're already well motivated kids. So, you know, we were starting at quite a high base, but they're coming back. They were doing blue screen filming, and they were coming back after school to do their films, to do their home. They were really proud of the work they were doing, and incredibly motivated. And not because they're being told to do it, they just want to do it. They're engaged with the activities and the things they're being provided with and things they're being asked to do. They're given a choice. This is really important because at some point in our working lives, we have to choose the best way to do a job. And our children now, through these netbooks, are given a choice. They may be asked to learn something, to construct some knowledge, to get some information into their head, and to then understand it. And then key to that for teachers is for them to do something that shows us they understand it so we can assess their knowledge. And in many cases, they'll be given a choice how they want to do that. And they think to themselves, okay, would it be better if I make a film, for instance? Will it be better if I do a piece of extended writing? Or will it be better if I do a PowerPoint? And in some cases, they're making those informed choices. And obviously, as educators, as teachers, at some point we're going to say, today we need to do extended writing. So we will make the choice because, again, that's the way kids are going to be examined at this point. But, you know, as educators, we will make those decisions. But a choice is really, really important. And you'll have seen that in some of the things that the kids said in those quotes at the very beginning.